So, is Kazakhstan a paradise to meet open-minded Muslim girls? Ooh, now we're into the controversial part.
SAR Experience.
Привет and greetings from Odessa, Mama, Ukraine, and welcome back to another episode of the Vodka Vodcast with me, Connor Klein. And today's video, we're not going to be reviewing anything about Ukraine and Odessa. We're going to be, together so that you can learn. We're going to be reacting to a video from the internet, from YouTube, that is about women from Kazakhstan. Now, I have been to Kazakhstan myself. I've been twice to Almaty, or Almata in Russian. It's the former capital of Kazakhstan. It's kind of the commercial capital of all of Central Asia, even though the capital of the country has moved to Nur Sultan, which is in the north of Kazakhstan. It's a big city in the south. I had an absolutely fantastic time both times, so I can recommend going there. I have another podcast about my experiences in Central Asia, and I have a Tip Thursday and a vlog from Uzbekistan, which is kind of related. It's next door neighbor. So I will link those down below in the description, up in cards as well. So definitely go and check those out if you haven't seen them already. So let's have a look. This video has a, very clickbaity title. I say that because this channel, Nomad TV, has excellent titles to their video in terms of getting people to click on them. I always joke that I should hire this guy to do my titles. And I've also reviewed some other videos from this channel. I'll link those also down below and up on cards. One from Moldova, one about women in Russia, and you can go check those out if you haven't seen them already. The title to the video we're about to react to is, are Kazakhstanis really stunning, open-minded Muslim girls? So let's jump into it and see if that's the case or not. Okay, Nomad TV presents. A lot of breathtaking girls in this country. Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later about my experience in Kazakhstan, but not bad for the chicks, it's true. Now, the style of these videos is he plays some muzak, some kind of elevator music in the background, and then has some text on the screen, and then uses what we call B-roll. So it looks like footage probably shot himself on location when he was in Kazakhstan, narrating a story. So he starts off, I don't think that it's Borat's wife from the film Borat, or the sequel. I haven't actually seen the sequel, I've seen the original. And of course, it's a fictitious story. He claims to be Borat from Kazakhstan. He has nothing to do with Kazakhstan. There's nothing Kazakh in the film. So definitely, I think most people realize that it's not a remotely accurate depiction of Kazakhstan. He actually shot the scenes that are supposed to be in a Kazakh village. They were not shot in Kazakhstan. They were shot in a majority Roma village in Romania. And actually, you can hear, if I remember, some parts of the film, the extras are actually speaking to each other in Romanian in the background. But yeah, so no Borat jokes. No one really finds them funny, and it's nothing to do with the country. It's interesting, back in the day that the president, Nazarbayev, he apparently discussed the film with George W. Bush, who was the president. This is obviously a long time ago when it came out. And he wanted to explore if he could have the film banned, which is hilarious because that's obviously not how things work in the West. Apparently that's how things worked in Kazakhstan for sure at that stage. But so Sacha Baron Cohen is British, which makes it even funnier since the president of Kazakhstan didn't realize that he's not even American. So what is George Bush supposed to do? Just ban the film because the president of Kazakhstan doesn't like it? Okay, so he says dating Russian plus Asian ladies. Yeah, there's a significant Russian minority still in Kazakhstan. Obviously, it was part of the Soviet Union back in the day. They had a large German population as well, which has left. We'll get into that in a second. But definitely, yeah, if you go to a big city like Almaty. So there he follows up about Borat, and it looks something like the village in Borat's film. 100% doesn't look like that. It's quite mixed, but the majority are Asian looking, we'll say. So he says that two-thirds of Kazakhs are, two-thirds of the population of Kazakhstan is ethnically Kazakh. That seems accurate enough from what I see also when I'm there. Then he says, in the 1990s, a lot of Kazakh Germans immigrated. Kazakh Germans would be people living in Germany or born in Germany who are of Kazakh origin. That's not the case at all. I guess he read this somewhere online and got a little bit confused. So what happened was actually the opposite. He also says immigrated, like they came in, all these Kazakh Germans. No, the opposite happened. The German Kazakhs, who are a large part of the population at the time, a significant part, I can't remember the exact, was it, there was like 1 million of them who got to leave Kazakhstan and go back to Germany. So they were German Kazakhs. And in the early 90s, I went back. Actually, I have a friend who's appeared in many of my videos and my vlogs and stuff here, and he's what's known as a Russland-Deutscher or a Kazakhstan-Deutscher. And he was actually born in Russia, but was living in Kazakhstan at the time, and then moved to Germany, or moved back, depending on your point of view. But they were given the right to return. So I don't know what he's talking about here. He must have read it and got confused. So the opposite happened. So 1 million German Kazakhs left. So you will find those people in Germany today, primarily. And they emigrated. They didn't immigrate. That's the opposite way around. So this resulted in beautiful blonde girls with dark skin and Asian eyes. No. Again, he's confused. He's also showing girls that are definitely not, at least looking at them, ethnic Germans or ethnic Kazakhs. Those two girls that he's showing look probably Tajik, I would guess, but that's just a wild guess. I mean, if someone knows, if you know, write me below in the comments if you can figure out from the style of the dress and stuff. Dark skin and Asian eyes. This is not even what Kazakhstan Deutsche looked like either. So yeah, I kind of made that up. So, is Kazakhstan a paradise to meet open-minded Muslim girls? Ooh, now we're into the controversial part. Yeah, definitely. Don't go, because I'm not in Kazakhstan right now. Don't go to Kazakhstan and think that it's Saudi Arabia. But I think most people know that. And it's relatively liberal compared to those more conservative Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia or whatnot, or maybe most of the Gulf states. So yeah, it was in the Soviet Union. It was a lot more liberal as a result. So that's not as big an issue as it is other places. So he says that you'll find sexy girls in high heels, 100%. It's more or less like the rest of the former Soviet Union from that point of view. You can have one-night stands. Yes, it's not that conservative. You don't have to marry someone and sleep with them. So he says 20% of the world population is Russian. That seems to be pretty accurate, ethnically Russian. So you will find those. Yeah, 100%. Obviously, since Russian is so widely spoken, and I went to Almaty, and there actually the first language of the city is still Russian overall, although Kazakh is catching up in terms of being used in daily life. So English, if you rely on English, is going to be a disadvantage, obviously, compared to if you can speak some Russian. That's going to help you out a lot in a country like Kazakhstan, pretty much like here in Ukraine or in Russia or in Belarus. Also going to be a big help. When I went out to the bars and clubs in the center of Almaty, by the way, there's pretty savage nightlife there. I was not disappointed on that front at all. Most women who were there could actually speak some English. I don't think it was the case that no English was spoken. Overall in the country, if you leave that kind of environment, probably you're going to struggle if you don't speak Russian. So definitely learning Russian, another perk is going to be not just here in Ukraine or in Russia or Belarus, but also countries like Kazakhstan. All right, then he goes into some weird passage where he's kind of fantasizing about the girl kissing him and thinking of what her mother said. That seems like his own imagination there. He emphasized that they're still traditional. Again, we get a long conversation about traditions. They definitely seem a little bit more traditional than here in Ukraine, but that's primarily because it's not very traditional here. In reality, compared to the stereotype propagated by those dodgy marriage agencies. So it's a little bit more true in Kazakhstan, in a big city like Almaty. Of course, you go to the countryside, I'm sure it's super traditional, but you say that about anywhere outside of the West, right? If you go to Morocco, I'm sure you'll find super traditional women there once you go into a village, if that's what you're looking for. And yeah, kissing, it's not, I mean, it's in marriage mindedness, what to say. Also here, there's a bigger emphasis on that than there's going to be on the West. So it's probably just a little bit extra. If you go to Kazakhstan, I don't think you're probably going to go to a village in Kazakhstan to hunt for a wife or something like that. So I think it's kind of irrelevant what happens out there. But in the big cities, it's particularly, well, relative to maybe the stereotype of a Muslim country in Central Asia that's developing to a certain extent. It's not that poor either, Kazakhstan. But Almaty, it's very modern. There's a lot of money in Kazakhstan from resources. So it's going to be more traditional a tiny bit than here. But yeah, in a big city like that, it's not going to be, of course, the stereotype 1950s Stepford wife. Maybe it's a little bit more possible to find it in Kazakhstan in a big city than it's going to be here. But I wouldn't invest that much time into if that's what you're looking for. It's just going to be a bit easier. So just think about it. If you've been here to Ukraine, it's a little bit more conservative, but not dramatically. Maybe that's the big surprise for people when they visit Kazakhstan. Beshbarmak. Now, I'm not a huge fan of it. Kazakhstan does have great horse meat. I don't know if the local, I mean, that's always something you can do is to ask a little girl to cook you the national dish. It can be here, it can be borscht in Ukraine, can be in neighboring Uzbekistan, maybe plov. Obviously get her to invest and do something for you if you meet a girl. That can be a fun way to get to know each other better. I'm not super gone on the traditional food in Kazakhstan, but yeah, whatever rocks your boat. If you like it, then go for horse meat. Be aware that horse meat is the specialty. That is really tasty. So if you're into horse meat, Kazakhstan for the win on the culinary front. Let me go a little bit into my experience there. The nightlife is extremely good in Almaty. I have been told, I haven't been to anywhere else in the country, and people told me it's nothing like as exciting in Nur-Sultan, the capital, or in the other cities of Kazakhstan compared to Almaty. Definitely clubs, bars, everything was pretty fun. People were open. Girls are particularly stylish and good looking for sure. I think in terms of maybe relative, of course, since it's majority Asian, I mean, if you don't particularly like Asian women, aesthetically, then it's probably not going to be for you. If you are into Asians, then they're going to be, and maybe you've been to East Asia or Southeast Asia, in Kazakhstan they're going to be a bit taller in general. There is a bit of mix, obviously, with Russians and the ethnic Germans and the other ethnicities. Like there are a lot of Koreans, there are a lot of people from the other Central Asian republics, because especially Almaty is a big commercial center, so a lot of people go there, which is also why it's more liberal and more open-minded, shall we say, than the more conservative villages obviously you're going to find around in the region. So you have that mix there. Girls are good looking, general style is good. So compared to, say, here, I would say that women in Ukraine on average are going to be better looking. Same in Belarus. But these, I did another podcast with my friend Andy where we talked we're the best women in the world, basically, and we weren't just judging on looks, but basically this region is where you find the best looking women in the world in general on average, right? And Kazakhstan is not that far behind. Definitely there are a lot of beautiful women in Kazakhstan. So I would say maybe not as prestigious as here in terms of the beauty on average throughout the country, in terms of its women, but make a comparison. Is there a big difference between, say, here and maybe Moldova next door? I'm actually going to review a video from the same channel about Moldova very soon as well. Probably not a huge gap, right? I think compared to, say, Western Europe, Kazakhstan, you're going to see more beautiful women in general there. Slim. They don't have an obesity problem either. So definitely, if you are obviously also partial to Asian women, then Kazakhstan, Almaty or Almata is going to be a good option for you to go and have an interesting trip to, for sure. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to move there. If you are considering moving to Kazakhstan, then maybe just write me a message, write me an email and tell me about why you're moving there, and maybe there's a way that I can help you with that. I have built up some contacts in Kazakhstan, so my email is connorklein@sarexperience.com. Not expecting that too many guys are planning to move to Kazakhstan, but who knows, they do have a big resource industry there, so actually a certain number of expats do move to Kazakhstan for that reason. So overall, I say this video is pretty accurate, except for the huge mistake with Kazakh Germans, and actually been German Kazakhs, and they didn't immigrate, they emigrated out of the country. But if you take that out of it, and he shows some B-roll of girls who were not ethnically Kazakh or ethnically German, but fine, except for that. I think just overall the video is pretty accurate about the open-mindedness for a Muslim majority country, obviously with its history being the Soviet Union. That's definitely accurate. There are beautiful girls there. You will need Russian more than Central Europe or Western Europe, obviously. Compared to here, maybe there's not a huge difference. Maybe, as I said, when I was in Almaty, I didn't really think you needed much more Russian than here. You basically need it. That's the bottom line. And that's obviously a big investment of time. If you're just going on a short trip, well, probably don't need to go and learn Russian for a 2-week trip. But if you are planning to spend a lot of time in this region, obviously I am a big advocate of learning Russian, because you just get a return on your investment that is massive over the long term. Actually working on a solution for that, and then I'll let you know about it in the coming months. Going to actually be helping you to learn Russian. I'm going to set up a program for that. And if you're interested in that, actually I have a free general language learning course. There's a link to that below. If you haven't checked it out, go do that, and just make sure that you're on my free mailing list. You're automatically on that if you sign up for that free language course. Or you are interested in Slavic seduction secrets, which is the next thing to talk about at the end of this video. Obviously the same general rules apply. I do touch on Kazakhstan a small bit also in the course, but basically it's the same principles. Kazakhstan was in the Soviet Union at the time, so they have commonality in the dating culture, obviously with its own specificities for sure. And if you do go to Kazakhstan, you're going to need to know how to plan the perfect date, how to meet more Kazakh women, or more, if you're into the ethnic Russians, as he pointed out in the video, meet more ethnic Russian girls there, and then you're going to have that real man mindset, because also in Kazakhstan that is definitely pretty similar, and you're going to have to understand Slavic mentality, intelligence. It's also going to be pretty relevant to the other ethnicities in Kazakhstan. And then if you do meet someone, you're going to have to know how to test and see if they're a gold digger. If you want to date a gold digger, that's cool, but you should know exactly what you're dealing with. So I have the gold digger test, and also then we have a LTR, long-term a relationship test as well, because you don't want to be investing a huge amount of time into the wrong woman, just in terms of emotions. Time doesn't stand still. Time stands still for no man, as they say, and of course resources in terms of you're going to be flying all the way there and stuff like that. So Kazakhstan, not a bad video overall, I have to say. Kazakhstan is definitely worth checking out. In terms of the culture and things to see, Almaty has mountains nearby. Definitely very interesting culture if you haven't been exposed to Central Asia and Kazakhstan before, and you have some daft stereotype built up from the Borat film, then that will be crushed on a trip to Almaty. For sure, and definitely worth it for the nightlife as well. I definitely had a good time both times I was there. So overall, can recommend Kazakhstan for a certain type of guy, and best of luck with that if you are planning to go to Kazakhstan. If not, well, now you know what to expect and why not to go there. If you're not into Asian girls, then probably you're better off just coming here to Odessa in Ukraine, or to Russia or to Belarus for sure. I am super pumped that I will be going back eventually to film in Kazakhstan. Probably going to be obviously Almaty. That's where I want to go. I want to do a proper vlog from there. So obviously with the travel restrictions we've had in 2020 and now it's at the start of 2021, don't know exactly when that's going to be yet, but I am going to be going back there, and I am very excited about that probability. Of course, fingers crossed with all these travel restrictions, getting there and giving you a good vlog from Almaty, so you get more of a sample of the atmosphere it's like to go there and travel. So that will be coming up some stage in the channel, hopefully in 2021. 2020 was supposed to be the year of Russia, by the way, and it just didn't happen because of all this COVID mess, and obviously travel restrictions and getting a visa for Russia has been near on impossible. So also planning to go back there sometime in 2021. See you very soon in the next video. Do svidaniya. Do встречи from Odessa, Ukraine, with my soul and heart still been a little bit over there in Kazakhstan.
SAR Experience.